Picture this: a bustling cafe on a crisp Friday evening, the kind of place where the air smells like freshly brewed coffee and whispered promises. At one table sits an ordinary girl, her hands trembling slightly as she fumbles with the menu. Across from her is a man she's never met before, blind date arranged by a well-meaning friend. She doesn't know it yet, but tonight will change everything. Not because of the awkward conversation or the spilled drink that leaves her mortified, but because someone else at the cafe notices her in ways she could never imagine. Someone who isn't even supposed to be part of her story. Let me introduce you to Emma, our protagonist. She's not your typical fairy tale heroine. No designer clothes, no Instagram perfect life, just a regular 27-year-old trying to navigate adulthood, while juggling student loans and a job that pays just enough to keep her dreams alive. Tonight, though she stepped out of her comfort zone for the first time in months, her best friend Sarah had been relentless about setting her up with Mark, a guy who checks all the boxes. On paper, he seems perfect, stable job, charming, smile, shared interests. But something feels off from the moment they sit down. Maybe it's the way he talks more about himself than asks about her, or how his eyes dart around the room instead of meeting hers. Whatever it is, Emma can sense this isn't going to end well. As the minutes tick by, Emma tries harder to make things work. She laughs at jokes that aren't funny, nods along to stories she doesn't care about, and forces herself to sip the overly sweet latte she ordered under pressure. Then it happens, the moment every person dreads during a bad date. In her nervousness, she knocks over her glass of water, sending it cascading onto Mark's lap. The sound of shattering ice echoes through the cafe, followed by an uncomfortable silence. Mortified, Emma stammers an apology, but Mark's face twists into a look of irritation rather than understanding. He mutters something about being late for another engagement and storms off, leaving Emma alone with her embarrassment and a growing sense that maybe some things are better left untouched. But here's the twist. Unbeknownst to Emma, there's another man watching the entire scene unfold. At a nearby table sits Ethan Carter, a name synonymous with success in business circles. With a net worth most people can only dream of, Ethan is used to commanding attention wherever he goes. Yet tonight, he's chosen this quiet cafe to escape the chaos of his high-powered world. Dressed casually in jeans and a leather jacket, he blends in effortlessly, observing the world around him with sharp, calculating eyes. When Emma's mishap occurs, he doesn't smirk or judge like others might. Instead, he finds himself intrigued by her genuine reaction, her vulnerability, her humility, and the way she handles the situation without losing her dignity. Ethan has seen countless women throw themselves at him, each one polished and poised, vying for a chance to enter his glamorous lifestyle. But Emma, she's different. There's no pretense, no agenda, just a girl doing her best despite the odds stacked against her. As he watches her gather her belongings and prepare to leave, a thought crosses his mind, one that surprises even him. What if, just for once, he pursued something real instead of settling for the superficial connections he's grown accustomed to? The tension builds as Ethan makes a decision. He signals the waiter and discreetly pays for Emma's bill, ensuring she won't have to face the added humiliation of covering the cost of the disastrous date. Then, summoning a courage he hasn't felt in years, he approaches her table. His voice is calm but tinged with curiosity as he introduces himself. "I couldn't help but notice what happened," he says, his gaze steady yet kind. "If you're still hungry, I'd be happy to join you for dinner." Consider it my way of turning a rough night into something memorable. Emma looks up, startled by the unexpected offer. For a moment she hesitates, unsure whether to trust this stranger who exudes confidence and charm. But there's something in his eyes and authenticity that reassures her. Against her better judgment, she agrees, sensing that this encounter might lead somewhere unexpected. Little does she know, their paths crossing is only the beginning of a journey that will challenge everything she thought she knew about love, ambition, and second chances. As they settle into conversation, the atmosphere shifts. Gone is the awkwardness of the earlier date. In its place is a connection that feels almost electric. Ethan listens intently as Emma shares snippets of her life, her passion for photography, her struggles with self-doubt, and her quiet determination to carve out a meaningful existence. In turn, he opens up about his own battles, revealing a side of himself rarely seen by anyone outside his inner circle. The chemistry between them is undeniable, sparking questions neither is ready to answer. Is this simply a fleeting moment of mutual interest, or could it blossom into something deeper? Just as the evening reaches its peak, a sudden interruption throws everything into disarray. A group of paparazzi bursts into the cafe, their cameras flashing wildly as they swarm toward Ethan. It seems his attempt to remain incognito has failed. Spectacularly, panic flickers across Emma's face as she realizes the magnitude of who she's sitting with. This isn't just any man, it's Ethan Carter, billionaire, entrepreneur, and media sensation. The weight of his fame crashes down on her, leaving her torn between excitement and fear. Will this newfound knowledge bring them closer together, or drive a wedge between them before they've even begun? And so, as the camera pans out on the chaotic scene, we're left wondering what happens next. Can Emma overcome her insecurities and embrace the possibility of a future with someone so far removed from her reality? Or will the pressures of Ethan's world prove too much to bear? Stay tuned to find out, because this is just the start of a story that promises to tug at your heartstrings, challenge your perceptions, and remind you that sometimes the most extraordinary moments come from the most ordinary beginnings. Emma's mind races as she watches the paparazzi swarm around Ethan, their cameras flashing like strobe lights in a dark club. She feels exposed, vulnerable, and completely out of her depth. This wasn't supposed to happen. A quiet dinner with a stranger was one thing, but being thrust into the orbit of someone like Ethan Carter, that's another world entirely. Her first instinct is to bolt, to grab her coat and disappear before anyone notices she's even here. But something holds her back. Maybe it's the way Ethan looks at her when he finally manages to shake off the photographers, his expression a mix of apology and admiration. Or maybe it's the stubborn part of her that refuses to let fear dictate her choices. Ethan, for his part, feels a pang of guilt. He hadn't meant to drag Emma into the chaos of his life, but now that she's here, he can't deny the spark between them. Still, he knows better than anyone how suffocating fame can be. The media will dissect every move they make, turning what could have been a simple connection into tabloid fodder. As much as he wants to protect Emma from all of that, he also doesn't want to let her go, not yet. So, he does the only thing he can think of. He offers her an escape. "Come with me," he says, his voice low but firm. Before she can protest, he takes her hand and leads her out through the kitchen door. Away from prying eyes and clicking shutters, the cool night air hits them like a wave as they step outside, both breathing heavily, not just from the adrenaline of their narrow escape, but from the unspoken tension simmering between them. They walk in silence for a while, the city lights casting long shadows on the pavement. Finally, Emma breaks the quiet. "You're Ethan Carter," she says, her tone somewhere between disbelief and accusation. It's not a question. She's piecing together everything she knows about him from headlines and interviews. Billionaire tech mogul, philanthropist, playboy. None of those labels seem to fit the man standing beside her now, though I am, he admits, running a hand through his hair. But tonight, I'm just a guy who saw something special in you and wanted to know more. His words are sincere, but Emma isn't ready to trust so easily. She's spent her whole life feeling invisible, blending into the background while others took center stage. What happens when the spotlight turns on her? Will she crumble under its weight, or worse, lose herself trying to keep up? Back at her tiny apartment later that night, Emma replays the evening over and over in her mind. Part of her wonders if she imagined the whole thing if Ethan will wake up tomorrow and realize he made a mistake pursuing someone like her. But then her phone buzzes, pulling her out of her thoughts. It's a text from him. Asterisk, "Thank you for trusting me tonight. I'd like to see you again, if you're willing." Simple, direct, and somehow disarming, against her better judgment. She types back a reply, asterisk, "Okay." Asterisk, as days turn into weeks, the relationship deepens in ways neither of them expected. Ethan introduces Emma to a side of himself she never would have guessed existed. A man who loves art museums, prefers quiet dinners to lavish parties, and finds joy in the little things, like watching sunsets or hearing her laugh. For her part, Emma teaches him how to slow down, to appreciate moments without constantly thinking about the next big deal or business meeting. Together, they create a bubble where the outside world fades away, leaving only the two of them and the growing bond between them. But reality has a way of intruding, no matter how hard you try to keep it at bay. Rumors start swirling online after someone spots them together at a charity gala. Suddenly, Emma becomes the subject of gossip columns. Her name splashed across social media alongside speculation about her intentions. Is she a gold digger using Ethan for his money? Or is she genuinely falling for him despite the odds? The comments sting, especially because she knows there's truth to some of the doubts people raise. After all, how could someone like her ever truly belong in Ethan's world? Meanwhile, Ethan faces pressure from his inner circle, his board members, advisors, and even family, all warning him that getting involved with someone so far removed from his lifestyle is a recipe for disaster. "She'll never understand your world," his sister tells him during a tense phone call, "and sooner or later, you'll resent her for it." Her words linger in his mind, planting seeds of doubt he tries desperately to ignore. The conflict reaches a boiling point when Ethan's company announces plans to expand into international markets, requiring him to travel extensively over the next few months. He invites Emma to join him, hoping it will bring them closer and prove to everyone, including himself, that their relationship is worth fighting for. But Emma hesitates. How can she leave behind her own life, her job, her dreams, just to follow him into a world that already feels foreign and overwhelming? And what happens if things don't work out? Would she be able to pick up the pieces and start over? Their arguments grow more frequent, each one chipping away at the foundation they've built. One night, after a particularly heated exchange, Emma blurts out the fear she's been carrying since the beginning. "What if I'm not enough for you? What if no matter what I do, I'll always feel like I'm playing catch-up in your world?" Her voice cracks, and Ethan sees the pain in her eyes, the same pain he felt when he realized he couldn't shield her from the scrutiny that comes with loving him. for the first time. Ethan considers walking away not because he doesn't love her, but because he loves her too much to watch her struggle. But before he can make a decision, fate intervenes. A scandal erupts within his company, threatening everything he's worked for. Reports surface alleging unethical practices, and suddenly Ethan is facing not just personal turmoil, but professional ruin. In the midst of the chaos, Emma stands by him, reminding him of why they started this journey together in the first place. Now, as Ethan prepares to address the allegations in a high-stakes press conference, Emma sits nervously in the front row, knowing that whatever happens next will change both their lives forever. Will the truth set him free, or will it tear them apart? And more importantly, will their love survive the storm? The answers lie just ahead, but the road to resolution is anything but certain. The press conference room buzzes with tension, reporters scribbling notes and cameras flashing as Ethan steps up to the podium. Emma watches from the front row, her heart pounding in her chest. She's seen glimpses of this side of him before, the composed, commanding figure who commands attention without saying a word, but today feels different. Today, it's personal. The allegations swirling around his company aren't just about business ethics. They're an attack on his integrity, his legacy, and by extension, their relationship. Ethan begins speaking, his voice steady but laced with emotion. He doesn't dodge the questions or deflect blame. Instead, he lays everything out: his mistakes, his regrets, and most importantly, his commitment to making things right. I built my company on principles I believed in, he says, his gaze sweeping across the room before landing on Emma. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of what truly matters: trust, honesty, and accountability. I'm here today not just to defend myself, but to promise you that I will fix this not for me, but for everyone who deserves better. As the words sink in, something shifts in the atmosphere. The skepticism in the room softens, replaced by a cautious respect. For Emma, though, it's more than that tit's validation. Watching Ethan take responsibility, seeing him stand tall despite the weight of scrutiny, reinforces everything she's come to admire about him. It also reminds her why she fell for him in the first place. Not because he's perfect, but because he's willing to fight for what's right. After the press conference, the fallout isn't immediate. There are investigations, meetings, and sleepless nights as Ethan works tirelessly to address the issues within his company. Through it all, Emma remains by his side, proving herself to be more than just a supportive partner. She becomes his anchor. Her quiet strength inspires him to keep going, even when the odds feel insurmountable. Slowly but surely, the tide begins to turn. Public opinion shifts as transparency measures are implemented, and the scandal starts to fade into the background. One evening, months after the chaos began, Ethan takes Emma to the rooftop of his penthouse apartment. The city stretches out below them, alive with lights and energy. He hands her a glass of wine, then turns to face her, his expression unreadable. "Do you remember our first night together?" he asks, breaking the silence. Emma smiles softly, nodding. "How could I forget? You practically kidnapped me out of that cafe." Ethan chuckles, but there's seriousness in his eyes. "That night changed everything for me," he admits. "You showed me what it means to live authentically, to value substance over appearances. And now, I need to ask you something." Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out a small velvet box and opens it to reveal a simple yet elegant ring. "Emma, would you do me the honor of spending the rest of your life with me?" Tears well up in Emma's eyes as she stares at him, overwhelmed by the moment. This is the culmination of everything they've been through, the doubts, the fears, the sacrifices, but it's also proof that love can endure even the toughest challenges. Yes, she whispers, her voice trembling with emotion. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding, held months later, is intimate and understated, a reflection of who they are as a couple. Friends and family gather under twinkling fairy lights, celebrating not just their union but the journey that brought them here. As Emma walks down the aisle in a vintage lace dress, she catches Ethan's eye and sees the same admiration that first drew her to him. In that moment, she knows they've created something rare and beautiful, a partnership built on mutual respect, resilience, and unwavering support. In the years that follow, both Emma and Ethan continue to grow, individually and together. Ethan rebuilds his company with a renewed focus on ethical practices, earning back the trust he lost. Meanwhile, Emma pursues her passion for photography, capturing moments that tell stories of hope, connection, and humanity. Their lives remain intertwined, but they never lose sight of the importance of staying true to themselves. Looking back, Emma realizes that none of this would have happened if she hadn't decided to take a chance on that blind date, or rather, if she hadn't spilled water all over Mark's lap. That embarrassing moment set off a chain reaction that led her to Ethan, teaching her that sometimes life's greatest blessings come disguised as missteps. For Ethan, meeting Emma was a reminder that success without love is hollow, and that real happiness comes from embracing vulnerability instead of running from it. As the video fades to black, viewers are left with a final message. Life has a funny way of surprising us when we least expect it. Whether it's a clumsy encounter in a cafe, or a billionaire noticing the extraordinary in someone ordinary, these moments remind us to stay open to possibilities, because love, much like life itself, often finds us when we're too busy stumbling through it to notice. And when it does, it's worth holding on to, even if it means facing the world head-on together.